I got my visual aids. That's why I was late. I had to run downstairs to get my visual aids.
Visual aids.
I ain't had to do that since middle school. For the discussion on the election discussion.
Well, let's get that in. Let's go to ADOS, and this is something you
Oh,
was in the streets. I don't
I
know
was
why
in
you
the
was in the
street.
streets. You telling me not to be in the streets, but you're in the streets.
I'm not on college campuses.
You know, college campuses is streets, right? I don't know if you ever been to
And
HBCU.
then yeah,
Have you ever been to
I ain't
HBCU
roaming
before?
campuses, you know.
But have you ever been to HBCU before?
I'm messing with them students.
Let's stay there. Have you ever
While
been
they
to
trying to
HBCU?
build a future for themselves. I'm not going to interfere with a young lady while she's trying to just starting out in life. And then you mentioned Twitter, you stalking them online, but I was trying to let it go. You brought it back up. I must have touched a nerve.
No.
But can we get to the ADOS?
You touched absurd comments, but nothing nerves. But go ahead. Go to your
ADOS. You have to do something about me. Listen, I'm not in the streets. I live in the hood, but I'm used to the finer things. So I was, you know, I my favorite exercise is walking, just simply walking. I learned that from Dick Gregory. So even though my walks start in the hood, I walk to the nice areas, and then my daily walks generally begin and end in the hood. But you know, between that, I'm in the nicer areas. It takes me a couple of miles to get over there. But anyway, while I was walking, I saw this in the street. Black American. I saw this in the streets. So I pick it up and I'm like, okay, Black American boycott Biden. That's peculiar. That's peculiar. So then I pick it up and read it. And like, I live in a Democratic stronghold, right? So anytime I see anything where that's attacking Republicans, attacking Democrats is kind of peculiar because most of the attacks in Chicago are Democrat on Democrat violence. So anyway, I picked this thing up and the first line on there is, are you a descendant of American slavery? Are you a descendant of American slavery? And then they proceed to talk about we built the U.S., Black labor, Revolutionary War, Civil War, how we're better than these white groups. We invented rock and roll. How we invented rock and roll. And so why are we at the absolute bottom? Whatever that means. And then it says the goal is to keep us in a permanent underclass. Both political parties and the media are on it. Now it says both political parties, which I agree work against our interests, but it doesn't say boycott Trump as well. It just says Biden. And then it says to preserve the white racist status quo, we are kept economically and socially restricted while all other groups, including illegals, are generally allowed to do as they please.
As they please.
They practice their own anti-Black racism to maintain white approval and support. It is subtle but deliberate. We're associated with just about everything negative in news, TV, movies, advertisements, with strong emphasis on the separation of Black men and Black women. I know some people in the chat are like, whoa, y'all. The Black political appointees, monuments, holidays, and other strategies are monuments, our holidays are used to promote a false sense of advancing while keeping this sabotage, even permission to murder us intact. This must end now. If Black America is not allowed to live our lives in peace and without fear after 245 years of history, then we will no longer reply. Do not vote for Joe Biden in 2024. Now, this is very peculiar because there's no group. Now, I went, because this is an election season and I vote in every election. And so this is an actual political flyer that I've been getting for weeks now, right? But here, let me show you. It tells you, my address is on here, but it shows who it's attributed to, paid for by. These things, they generally say, they have contact info. They have a website you can go to or a hashtag you can follow. It tells who paid for it, Coalition for the Homeless, Chicago, and it has their address and you can contact them. So when you go through all this trouble to make a glossy, two-sided flyer, but this doesn't have an address, it doesn't have a name, It doesn't have any attribution. It has this fallacious statement. And what did Kwame Ture tell us? A half truth is more dangerous than a full lie, because they're using the fact that we're suffering. They don't tell you who to vote for. They don't say, like this says, what you vote for and what you vote against. So when someone's telling you don't vote and not telling you who to vote for instead, so they don't endorse Trump. So this boycott, so this is this every season, because they were going after a politician who I support, a bureaucrat who I support, Kim Fox here in Chicago. And they did this same thing, this unattributed political assault. Now, I'm not, and I know some people be like, well, agree with it. But I think this is, but the fact that it asks, are we a descendant of American slavery at the very top? But there's no attribution and no address. So this is peculiar type shit that comes around my town during political holidays. Has anyone else seen these things in their town?
So that's some COINTELPRO black radical propaganda.
I mean, they could have threw Cornel West or any number of candidates on here to endorse, but these dark money, dark politics. I mean, this is, to me, is a call for black disenfranchisement more so than it is an indictment of Biden, because Biden, they don't put Biden's atrocities on here. They don't say anything specific about Biden. They talk about all this broad shit. A lot of it occurred before Biden was born. And even Biden is a contributor to some of these problems, mass incarceration and draconian laws. So they could even say they didn't attribute anything to Biden. They just said, well, if black people, if we don't have what we want and things ain't as we see, this is really some weird shit. And
what's the contact information again?
There is absolutely no attribution, no contact. This is not, they don't say who paid for this, who produced it, or anything. And I brought, this is one of many. I get several flyers in the mail from all these politicians and stuff wanting me to put up yard signs and all that mess. And because I've worked on political campaigns and I vote, but this is nothing like an actual flyer, you know. And yes, you should vote yes on one. This is actually one I agree with. 90% of them go straight into the recycling bin. But, you know, every now and then I'll get something endorsing something I intend to vote yes on question one. But that's another thing. It to me, this is more so a call for black political, trying to mobilize black discontent, legitimize black discontent, and legitimize black rage to advocate for disenfranchising ourselves. And to what end?